What is up, geeks and geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown City Geekcast. My name is Ted, aka Steady, and as you can see, we have a full table here of Star Wars fanatics ready to talk about Celebration and the last episode of The Mandalorian. To my right is the one and only Daniel from Legacy of Nerd.
What's up, everybody?
To my far right, we got Retro Ray.
What's going on, guys? Let's get the party started.
On my bottom right side over here, it's the one and only General Kenobi.
Hello there. Let's do this.
And right below me on the screen, his arms are so tired because he just got back from flying from London. It's one and only David.
This is the way.
Sultry.
Oh my God! Listen, this is going to be a jam-packed Star Wars episode. We have so much to talk about. We're going to be talking about the latest episode of The Mandalorian, Chapter 23, and our second topic. We're also going to be finishing up tonight's episode with sort of the highlights and the bullet points of the HBO Max rebranding. What's exciting, what's good, what's bad, what sucks, the pricing changing, all of that good stuff. But first, we're going to be talking all about Star Wars Celebration, just really giving you some of the highlights that happened. And then we also have some firsthand knowledge because Sir David here from the Star Wars Stuff podcast, like I mentioned, he just got back from London and had a ball from what we could tell. So, without further ado, let's get into some of the highlights of Star Wars Celebration. The big one, of course, is where we're going to start 3 live action Star Wars movies. Excuse me, one from James Mangold, which will go back to the dawn of the Jedi. We will also have a film from Dave Filoni, who is set to tie and roll up all of his streaming verse shows into one film. And then Charmin Obaid Chinoy, I probably butchered that, who will bring back Daisy Ridley as Rey in a Star Wars film set 15 years after The Rise of Skywalker. Instant reactions from this panel here. Daniel, we will start with you, sir. 3 new films. Any of those that you're super excited about? Are they all kind of meh? Any disappointments there? Let us know what you think.
Super excited about the Dawn of the Jedi, the story about the first Jedi. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a lot of I feel like in Star Wars films, the safe bet is always to go with the Jedi story. And if we can get a good good strong Jedi movie without a Skywalker in it, it'll be leaps and bounds in pushing Star Wars in a very positive direction. And I think that's the one where you can play around the most without having to worry about stepping on canon or without having to worry about established characters or anything like that. The one in the middle for me is probably the Rey. I didn't realize it was 15 years after Rise of Skywalker, which I mean, Daisy really does not. I don't know how they're to make her look 15 years older because she looks 5 years younger than Rise of Skywalker. So I don't. It makes sense to me. But that one, it's interesting. I had talked to Kenobi about that, saying that the idea of, because there's been a lot of talk of redoing the sequel trilogy, or a lot of rumors, not a lot of talk, but a lot of rumors that Disney was considering it. And it really is just Disney doubling down and saying, like, we don't make mistakes, so we're going to push forward. But that also, brings up the opportunity. I was talking to Ray earlier, was that they can rectify anything that wasn't received well. So that's an opportunity in itself. The least excited, I mean, I'm more worried about the bringing in the TV shows for the movie, just because I know you guys, everybody's talking, oh, this is our Avengers. Well, I'm worried about this is our Defenders, and that didn't work out so well for Netflix or Marvel. And I just don't know if those individual characters translate well to film, because people are used to getting more time with them, and then bashing them all together in one story. You would have to make it super cohesive and super good. I mean, if anybody were to do it, Filoni is probably the man we would want to do it. But it's the one I'm more worried about, as far as being a good movie, or being, I guess, what everybody perceives as a good movie. Because I I don't want more negativity in Star Wars. So I would like just for a movie to come out that everybody agrees is good. That way we can move forward as a Star Wars fandom and be more positive and happy about getting Star Wars.
Amen, amen. I think you actually stole my notes for those first couple of points that you had mentioned. So I'm gonna have to update my malware and make sure you're not hacking into my computer. But I've said a lot of those same things like before, and I'll probably say those things again in a second. But next, let's go to Retro Ray. Any strong feelings about that announcement? 3 new films.
Well, for me, like I said, the one I'm really looking forward to is Filoni's film. I'm happy with Ray coming back as well, but then also too, we'll get into it later with this episode of Mandalorian. He's gonna fill the holes and fill those gaps for that story arc over there. But when he brings these movies together, you got to factor in Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character. They had a kid, so that's a Jedi right there. You know what I mean? So with that, the being bringing the family back together, the rebels. I mean, it's so much but like you said, Daniels said it himself. How are you going to fit everything in one movie? I feel Ahsoka can kind of lead us up to it, but that's what I'm really looking forward to see what he's going to do and what he's going to give us to close off that part of the storyline.
Gotcha. You're right about the kid thing. I don't know. I feel like they're gonna be just fine with the movie because they're gonna have to write something extremely cinematic. The story has to be compelling, and we don't have to worry about the fillers of the episodes. The format of like serial weekly stories is gone. We're just doing like um all plot, right, in a movie. So I think like it could be something solid for Filoni going forward. That's just what I think for now. General Kenobi, any strong feelings about the movie announcement?
About time. That's all
Ooh,
about I can say. Um, David and I have gone into great lengths discussing this as to where are our Star Wars movies, right? Why is this not happening more often? Uh, I'm glad that they decided to be 3 different projects and not say, hey, new trilogy, right? Because I kind of feel we're still not quite there yet, not quite ready for a full on trilogy. Not yet. So kudos to Disney for thinking that way. 3 new movies, again, not a trilogy, very different projects. Um, I feel that Filoni is their way to sort of kind of go for the sure thing, right? It's like, hey man, this guy's been killing it on TV. We want to see that translated into him killing it on the movie theater. Again, I share the concerns here because it is quite a different thing, definitely, to direct a movie than to direct, TV. And then what I was talking to both Daniel and Ray earlier is that there's a lot that maybe they're assuming from the audience, right? That everybody's fully caught on to the Disney Plus, shows, that everybody has their story straight, their character straight, that maybe people, are pretty clear on the timeline, pretty clear on who's who around this time, all of that, right? And I'm not, I don't know that everybody is. Obviously, the more and more we add shows to Disney Plus, the more and more people start getting confused. I used this example before. Again, talking to Ray and Daniel. Uh, when Mando season 3 started, my cousin texted me, and she was like, "Hey, what the hell? Why is the baby back?" Like she's like, "I cried at the end of season 2 because they were separated, and now all of a sudden they're back." It's like, is this in the past? Like, what is going on? And of course, I explained, yes, well, there's like season 2.5 within the book of Boba Fett. But I'm just trying to illustrate the point where if I feel that the story to be contained within one movie, right, doesn't really have time to do a lot of exposition, do a lot of explaining as to 3 or 4 seasons worth of TV, right? So there's a lot of writing on that. Like I said, I get what they're trying to do because they're trying to quote unquote, ensure their success with this one project. The Ray movie, like Daniel said, it's them saying, "Hey, no, we didn't make a mistake. Like you guys just didn't like it, you know. So we're gonna give you another chance to like this character, and here it is, right?" I will say I'm glad we're finally stepping forward into the timeline, right? Into the story, finally pushing, beyond uh like I keep saying, like the 100-year period that we've been sort of, stuck on. That's good. Uh they're calling it the new Jedi Order, and again, that was a whole thing throughout the movies, that the Jedi are done, all of that. Debatable. I guess, what else were they gonna call it, right? Uh but I get it. They could have called it, the Skywalkers, I guess, but that would have been maybe a little bit on the nose. uh so it's gonna be interesting. Again, I am looking forward to seeing the future, right, of the story, the future of Star Wars. But the one I am absolutely delighted about is the Dawn of the Jedi. Okay, finally, I've been talking about this, before. We are finally stepping, fur like far away from this like Skywalker period, right, in the story. I Yeah, there you go, exactly. So this new era, right, of the timeline, Dawn of the Jedi. If you notice, it's all the way up to the left. This is the beginning, right? This is when they start just barely discovering the Force and what that means, right? Now, I know people were clamoring about getting, an old Republic movie. Uh, I think this, yeah, same here, right? I mean, that seems to be whenever somebody asks, Star Wars fan, hey, which movie would you like to see? The Old Republic, right? And I get it, but this might open up the door for that, right? This is even further away in the timeline, like by far. So I like that we're so removed again from what we know. I hope that the story is also removed. It is going to be tough because it's something so again, so different, so far away, but it has to feel like Star Wars, right? So there's that balancing act that's going to be pretty interesting for them to achieve. So, but again, I'm very excited because at this point in the story, at least back in the old legends, uh there's no Jedi, there's no Sith, right? I mean, there's just the Force and people who start becoming aware to it. So it's like trailblazing, what you can do, what you can't do, things like that. But there are basically no rules, established yet. So it's all just about discovery.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm most excited about, because if this does well, and I really do hope it does, this is gonna open up, a lot of opportunities, a lot of possible, more movies, comic books, a whole new like era, right, within Star Wars that can go on for years if they really wanted to. So I'm excited about the possibilities. I should say that's really what it boils down to.
Absolutely. And I think it was a quote from Kennedy who said that everything going forward will reside in these one of these 9 eras. So they're being very specific, and they've also canonized the Old Republic.
Right.
People thought like, oh, the High Republic's going to replace the Old Republic. Well, not anymore. The Old
No, yeah,
Republic is now canon, and we can expect something to happen eventually. When? How
absolutely.
soon? No idea. But that was at least one quote that I had read from Kathleen Kennedy saying that Old Republic and everything from Dawn to um, the oh, somebody just pulled up in their Harley, and the New World, New Jedi Order, everything in between. That's what we're focusing on from now on going forward. Last, not least, all the way from London, from the Star Wars Stuff podcast, Sir David. Which announcement movie are you most excited for, or are you kind of not excited for some of them, and why?
This is gonna be such a long podcast, guys.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, I was in London. I got to go with a lot of my hosts from the Star Wars Stuff podcast, and I got to attend the Lucasfilm panel in the Twin Sun stage.
Yeah.
When they came out at the very end and kind of gave the presentations for Andor, Acolyte, Ahsoka, we all knew
Flex.
the very end was going to be the climax and the new announcement of 3 films. We all thought they're going to be Sean Levy, Taika, and I'm forgetting the last person. It wasn't. It was James Mangold, which surprised everyone. We had no leaks about that shocked everyone. Of course, he's an Indy 5 director. Um, Dave Filoni came out. Thank God he's been announced as a film director. The acquisition of Lucasfilm to Disney came a little too early in Dave Filoni's life. If Dave Filoni had control of the sequel trilogy, it might have been totally different, the reception, because I think that guy knows Star Wars and knows how to make it well. He studied at the foot of the master with George Lucas. He's his apprentice. George Lucas considers Dave Filoni a son. He has a plan. I'm not worried about his film whatsoever. I think it's probably going to be multiple films, and he's a Star Wars lifer. He knows the ins and outs. Obey Chinoy's movie. That's an interesting one. It feels like Lucasfilm has been listening to the fans. They know that we want a movie every single year. There's a story that dropped today that we're going to get the Daisy Ridley film 2025. That will be the big release in December. But in 2026, we're going to get another film apparently, and that's going to be Dave Filoni's climactic vision of the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, and whatever series he's producing with Jon Favreau. So that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to all of these because it's the beginning, middle, and end of the timeline. And the Old Republic thing was actually announced years ago, but it was just kind of under the covers. And they announced people that were working on the project, but they released them, I believe. But it was a thing that really wasn't like revered and regarded, but they did talk about that they were working on it. And Kathleen Kennedy did reveal that they've been working on the Daisy Ridley film for a long time. I know everyone's on Instagram that she traveled from the UK to Lucasfilm for like a lunch. And I was like, there's no way. She's in talks to do something big. And this is the big thing. Hopefully it is episode X. It's episode 10. I want it to be that. The other big news is we're going to get the crawls now in the beginning of these films again. They should have never taken that away. That was ridiculous. Rogue One needs to have a special edition with the crawl. It's just criminal that there is no crawl. So yeah, I love those announcements. I love being there at Celebration. Celebration is my home. I'm going to try and go to Japan in 2025 and be there for that. I've never traveled to Asia, so that'll be another experience. It was my first time in Europe. London was great. The Brits are great. They were very kind to us. Very, very international city. I heard German, French. They're all different languages all around the world. Not just in Celebration, but at the touristy sites. Very pedestrian city. There's a lot of pedestrians walking around. Very bike-friendly city. Big bike lanes for everyone. Roundabouts everywhere instead of traffic lights. We ordered a Tesla. Well, we rented a Tesla. We wrecked it 3 times, which is crazy.
Y'all are nuts for doing that. You know they don't drive on the same side of the road as we do, right? You
They
know
don't?
That?
No, we were with someone who lived in Europe for 16 years, so he knew what he was doing. But even still,
You thought he knew what he was doing.
yeah, the traffic was insane. Traditionally, when you go to London, you go in the underground in the tube. That's how you get around. But we had a car. We were driving on the streets. We went from the very poor side to the very ultra rich side, which was very interesting. We visited Canary Wharf where they shot Rogue One. Celebration was jam packed with people. That Saturday, it was a firefighter's nightmare. It was such a fire hazard. There was sections of that place where you couldn't walk. People were just, you could probably float.
Wow.
You could just get in between people and probably float across and not even have to walk. It was so jam packed. That was a little scary. Luckily, I wasn't in it because down the boulevard, they have booths that are like nailed to the floor. So you could just get in there and just watch like kind of it was kind of an unperfect storm because I think a lot of the panels and Celebration Live scheduling ended simultaneously. So everybody came out all at once. I was able to buy a lot of stuff from the Celebration store. Unfortunately, I didn't go on the first day, but I did pick up some things. I brought this. I picked up one of these for General Kenobi. He requested it. It's a magnet.
Hey.
And
Yeah.
I got one of these for Ray. I just had it right here. The pins, I bought as many pins as I possibly could within reason.
Good job.
The mystery packs, they sold out day one. I bought 5 of them. I got 4 Paz Vizslas. I mean, very bad luck there.
Well, that
Those might be worth a lot more.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But I didn't finish my sentence. I traded 3 of them, but I still have 2 of these left.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I traded them for different characters, like Nine Numb. And there's a German guy in line with me and I met Rosario Dawson. We were in line to get our autograph, and he had a Nippet and he had a chopper. I tried getting you a chopper, Ray, but Forbidden Planet said they sold out like within like hours on the first day.
Dang.
So
I can
couldn't
imagine,
get a
man.
chopper, and I tried to trade one of my Paz Vizslas. So ironically enough, Paz Vizsla was the one pin he didn't have, and I was like, let's trade right now. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. And then he's like, let's trade Instagrams. I can maybe contact you later if I find someone that has another Nippet or chopper. He did. I told him this is my hotel. He didn't want to travel. He thought I was staying very close to the convention. I was close to the convention, but I was far enough away that he didn't want to make the travel. So I don't have the Nippet or chopper, but I bought a lot of pins, man. I
We
bought a
thought
lot.
Germans were hardcore. What's up with
I
that?
know.
He was hardcore. He had a jacket on with every single patch for every celebration he'd been to, and he'd been to like 10 of them. And he was there with his mom, and his mom was a super fan too. It was really
Damn.
interesting to talk to them. But
I
yeah,
take it
I
back.
met Rosario Dawson twice. I met Mads Mikkelsen twice. I met Giancarlo twice. I
Flags.
took a picture with Ewan and Hayden once, and only met them that one single time. But people were breaking protocol because the night before his photo op, they said, do not touch him, do not get close to him, don't hug him, don't shake hands, because he's shooting another production and COVID restrictions. And then we walk in, he's giving hugs to people, and I'm like, oh man, that's not good.
was it like a $500 photo op? I want my hug. Like,
Yeah. Luckily, I'd met him 2, 3, 4 other times at Celebration 2022, at the car show and Comic-Con in San Antonio. So it wasn't that big a deal for me. So I was okay with it. R2-D2 was in the photo, but they also mentioned that Ewan McGregor would be holding a lightsaber. He wasn't holding a lightsaber, but he was there. He looked very tired. Hayden was there. Got to see him. He just basically said, thank you. We walked out. But yeah, I wouldn't rank it at the top of all my celebrations because half of my friends weren't there because it was international. So I missed out on seeing some of the friends that were there as well, and some of our listeners for the Star Wars Stuff podcast. We didn't get to meet up with. Some of them we did. We got to meet up with one of our big patrons there, and that was really cool. And it was a bummer not to win every single panel. One of our hosts snuck into everything, so we had like kind of the inside scoop. So there's that as
Man.
well.
That's awesome.
So yeah, London was a blast. I want to go back next year with my family and just check out more sites and stuff. Now that I know kind of how it works and what to expect. The flight over there was 9 hours straight from Austin to London Heathrow, and flight back was great. I had a whole row to myself. I laid down. I can't sleep on planes, but I had 1 hour of sleep from the previous night because we kind of we ate. I think we went to the Soho district. Is awesome. It's straight out of like the movies, guys. It's just people walking around. It's a very wealthy district as well, and they have a chain of restaurants called Poppy's, which is regarded to have some of the best fish and chips that I've heard, and it was awesome. The thing that they don't tell you though is the soda. The soda's totally different. Same name.
What do you mean?
So it's also they have Sprite, Dr. Pepper, aside from Coke. I'll get to that in a second. So Sprite, it's all natural flavors. It don't taste the same. It don't taste as good as American Sprite because corn syrup is banned in Europe because they consider it to be a carcinogen. It gives you cancer. So they don't sell that. We went to a steakhouse. I ordered a Sprite, and they gave me something, and I tasted it. Didn't taste like Sprite. And I was like, well, maybe there's some type of like language barrier here, which the guy had a thick accent. I didn't know where he was from. But I showed him a picture. I was like, can I get this instead? And they said, well, it is that, but it's homemade Sprite. We make it with the trees that we have, the lemons and the limes. So that's essentially what I was drinking and eating. They have Dr. Pepper there. The label is slightly different, but yeah, if you order soda there, it's not the same thing, except for Coke. They're about a level away from achieving the taste of Mexican Coke, which is the best tasting Coke in the world that I've ever tasted. So if you go there, order a Coke. It's delicious.
Amen.
Got to order your HEB salsa and chips there.
Okay, Dave, I gotta ask a question, Dave.
I didn't even attempt to eat Mexican food there because everywhere else outside of Texas, it's not great.
No, it's not.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, you say that the sodas don't taste the same. It's because they taste healthy. That's what it is. They're not
It's
trying
like in
to
between
kill the
diet,
customers over there.
and in between what we're used to tasting in the States.
Is that all the Europe, all Europe, or just England?
All of Europe.
Oh, because look, I've had Italian Coke and I thought it was pretty good.
Right. The Coke is
Yeah.
great. It's
Yeah.
delicious, but everything else is not the same. Very interesting. I never heard that before. And then locals were like, yeah, you got tricked. You got fooled. But
Ray, what were we gonna say, Ray?
I don't know if Daniel was going to ask him or wanted me to ask him. The picture that we talked about earlier, where we see a
Oh.
planet that we kind of all over the internet, was that aired up there? Or is that just something that we're seeing on the internet?
what exactly?
So what he's referring to is
The
the
Immaculate
seems-
Conception.
yeah.
Oh
of
yeah,
Rey.
that's some type of Photoshop thing that happened. They never talked about anything about Rey being pregnant with
Right.
Kylo Ren's ghost baby or anything like that.
Okay, cool. Now we got a official answer.
There you go, folks. There you have it. Jerpy is in the chat saying, "So, can we expect an end credit to set up Ahsoka for the final with Thrawn? End credit
Oh,
at the end
no.
of Mando? At the end of this
Probably.
season of Mando?
No.
I feel like they have to, right? You either tease us with that or you tease us with Thrawn. You do something along those lines. It has to happen. They tie all of these shows up so much that it's now expected to see something along those lines. So yeah, kind of similar to Book of Boba end credit for season 2 of the Mando finale. Yes, absolutely. I think that's pretty much what we're gonna expect. I'm gonna go last about these movie things, and I hope I don't like ruin the vibe. I'm gonna go quick though. James Mangold, you're supposed to be making Swamp Thing. What are you doing making Star Wars movies? I'm just kidding. You're going back to the Dawn of the Jedi, which I think is fantastic. I've said it since episode 8. Stop with the Skywalker saga. We have too many rules that you have to abide by. You get away from it, you could do whatever you want. I actually heard somebody say this in an interview over the weekend. I forgot who it was who said like, um, you get out of all the rules and restrictions when you're getting outside the Skywalker saga. So yeah, they started to listen finally. Filoni, not worried about his movie. I think it's going to be just fine. I don't think he can do no wrong. He's very precise. He's very exact. He's probably like the second biggest or third biggest Star Wars fan ever. I say third because I did read a story over the weekend where I believe it was, oh my god, who voiced Force Unleashed? What's his name?
Oh my God, Sam Wither.
Sam Witwer.
Yeah.
I think
Witwer.
I think it was Whitwer who actually was on set doing something, and Filoni was setting up the scene, and Whitwer said, "Hey, we can't do that because so and so's already met someone," and
Yeah,
Filoni
that was
like
on the set of Solo. Actually, they
Yeah.
asked him about Darth Maul's lightsaber, and he said, "Well, you can go with this one from Rebels, Clone Wars, or you can go with this one." And no one knew on set, which is shocking, man. I mean, that's why you got a story group. And I don't know where Pablo Hidalgo was at that point, but apparently there was no one there.
There you go. So yeah, I'd say Filoni's their top 2, top 3 all time. So I don't think he can go no wrong. Daisy Ridley, love Daisy. I don't have confidence that there's going to be a story compelling enough to make a movie around her. So I apologize for any Ray fans out there. I liked Ray. I thought Ray was the best part of the sequel trilogy. Was the story the decent enough to garner a whole trilogy? No, clearly it wasn't. And I don't know if there's anything I care about going forward that would get me excited enough. Like I don't want to see any Sith come back. We've killed them all multiple times, some of them more than once. So, like, what can you do that's compelling enough to bring Ray back that would want to bring fans back to the theater? Is Daisy Ridley enough for most people? Probably, but we shit the bed on the sequel trilogy because the story wasn't compelling. And so let's not make any more non-compelling stories. And there shouldn't be any more threats in this galaxy. There really shouldn't. We've already scraped the bottom of the barrel with like threats in the Star Wars galaxy and Star Wars universe. So I don't know. I really don't know what it would take to get me to get excited for a movie 15 years in the future that starred Daisy Ridley.
And maybe
I've
that's why
watched.
they're moving back to move forward. Like you can. That's why you do Dawn of the Jedi. You create something to bring back later on. I don't know. Not just me. Not sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe. I mean, you could be right. Perhaps they go back and they plant little seeds. That way, Daisy can fight somebody in the future. That's always a possibility, I suppose. We'll see what happens. But you killed off all of our favorite characters already, like in Star Wars lore. Like, so it would be tough to go forward anymore. That's why I think it's just clean slate. Let's go see the beginning of the Jedi and all the good stuff going forward. That's just me though. We did have some other trailers. Some of them we didn't get to see. Dave got to see most of them. Ahsoka trailer was awesome. Star Wars Rebels characters are all taken over. Mary Elizabeth Winstead confirmed as Hera Syndulla. Sabine Wren played by Natasha Liu Bordizzo. And we got a first live action shot of Chopper. And of course, the biggest news I think coming from that trailer, Lars Mikkelsen, who voiced Thrawn in Rebels, is going to play him in live action form. David, were you in the theater for that announcement? How big was that pop?
It was huge. Every time you got a new reveal in the Twin Sun stage, it was to the point where the next piece of dialogue you couldn't hear, and I just wanted to be like, "Stop, stop, be quiet, let's listen." So yeah, they didn't have closed captioning or anything. So yeah, it was a huge pop. And what I've been told of the celebration stage, it was just pandemonium. So yeah, it was a lot of goodwill at those sites.
Absolutely. Anybody? I mean, look, they've been doing this with Bo-Katan Kreese, bringing voice actors to play the live action characters themselves, and it hasn't really failed them yet. So, like, yeah, keep doing it, go forward with it. And Lars is intimidating, like without the blue makeup. So I feel like he's even more menacing once you put the makeup and the contacts, and hopefully they do him justice with the facial prosthetics because he needs to look perfectly as Thrawn, not just a blue man from the Blue Man Group. Like that would be the worst thing you could possibly do. So hopefully they nail it, and I'm sure everyone else is excited about that. Any other call outs from the Ahsoka trailer that we should talk about?
Getting to see Sabine from the front because we had just a back picture of her standing at that mural that I actually got to see in person and take pictures in front of. Um,
Ah, I saw that. Yeah.
yeah, her riding that speeder, her being on Lothal, that one very kind of symbolic and classic image from Rebels.
The
Yeah,
highway scene, you mean?
yeah, the
Oh yeah.
highway scene.
Her with a lightsaber.
Yeah, and everyone's thinking that's probably Ezra's lightsaber.
Yeah.
Um, Thinking back to it, Soka using that same maneuver that she has the lightsaber stuck in the ground. They spin around her, she goes down, and everyone's thinking that's world between worlds stuff because you see kind of like the patterns on the walls. Um, and of course, her
It
Montrals
makes
are
me
longer.
think you have enough Rebels references in this trailer. There's a good chance we don't even get Ezra in this season. Maybe he'll be like a final episode cameo because you need something to look forward to. And there was talks about developing a season 2 for Ahsoka. They say like we're gonna see how this first season goes, and I'm like, if you put something out there, you're gonna do another season
Yeah.
unless it's Kenobi. But they're even talking about that maybe. So I feel like season 2 is going to happen and they need something to save for later or save Ezra for this Filoni film. And
Yeah,
that
I
would
think you're onto
be
something there. You're onto something because they didn't have that actor in person. They just had the three women, Hera, Ahsoka, and Sabine. And then
yeah,
we see the little hologram of Ezra,
holograms all we
and
got.
that's it.
You can't put all your eggs in one basket, right? And you got to give fans something to look forward to. Ezra's a big ticket item. You either save him for a future season or you save him for the movie, and that gets people in the seats. You just ask me. That's what I would do.
And we saw the back of Thrawn, which got a huge pop. That we had people like jump out of their chairs. So yeah, that was a big moment. Trying to think back to, I'm thinking about the other trailer that I didn't see in person. I did see the leak, and then one of our hosts was in the room, and you actually got to see a live action Purgle at the end.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
For,
Oh my god.
and it's massive. They're like almost flying into the mouth, a la Empire Strikes Back style with the space worm.
oh, okay.
Dope. I'm ready.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah,
I was
cool.
like, that's gotta be expensive.
yeah. They took all the budget from the Kenobi series and put it on.
That's what I was gonna say.
One Purgle.
Where was yeah? They needed an extra Purgle, and there it goes.
Yeah, yeah.
Derpy's in the chat says Mando was good this week. The tone was serious. We had real motive and realistic issue in this episode, but season 3 was campy and Disney-fied at least 6 episodes in complete different tone in 7, maybe 3 too, at least to me. Yoda Skywalker says this season 3 of Mando just seems misdirected. Finally, they are back on track. We're gonna get to Mando very, very soon, I promise, guys. But if you ask me, all intentional to not misdirect fans, but to be more in line with the core Star Wars format. Star Wars is always a serial um, episode of the week, flavor of the week type of format. That's what the movies were intended to follow, and this was just getting back to its like core format. And so, best of both worlds. But also from Celebration, the Andor announcement. They've already been shooting for months now. But we won't get Andor season 2 till August 2024. That is way too long if you ask me. We're talking about over a year uh, that we're going to be waiting. What is it? April, almost a year and a half, a little less than a year and a half away from the release of Andor season 2. Major disappointments across the room, right? Anybody think we're supposed to get it sooner?
I would think you would need to. I mean, I mean, Andor left off in such a way that it was like it was not complete, and I think you would want to. I mean, it's one of those series that they have like 12 episodes per season, and it fills in. But I guess from the Disney Plus standpoint, it feels like 2023 is going to be a lot about Marvel shows on Disney Plus, and so it will take a back seat. And plus, if they're going, Andor is the only one. I mean, I don't know if they clone him, but he's not going to be in the movie, so they need to start getting the movie set up for Filoni. And getting those shows out and seen or start filming whatever additional seasons they're going to need to film. But I would think you would just try to push that one further. But then again, that one had I can't remember the writer's name. You probably don't want to rush him either. I mean, Andor has some of the best dialogue we've heard in Star Wars ever. Going back to I don't like sand. But I would just think you would want it sooner. But I guess you got to start getting set up for the future.
For whatever reason, it just sounds like production is going to take forever. They started in November. The director, so apologies for his name, he says they won't even be done till this August, and then they go into post production. So post production for them is better part of a year. So that's just what it sounds like. Season 2 is going to be massive, and we all saw how like many practical effects and sets they had built for the first season. So I'm assuming season 2 is just going to be like no different. We're just in for like a massive like Star Wars level event.
Yeah, it was interesting that we didn't get Alan Tudyk on stage. He's supposed to like weigh really heavily. That kind of scares me a little bit. And there was no mention of him reprising his role as K2SO. In every block of
Yeah.
3 episodes in Andor season 2 will be an entire year leading up to the beginning of Rogue One.
Okay. So how many
Yeah.
years out did season 1 leave out from Rogue
Four.
One? So
The
it's
first season was 1 year,
1 year. Okay.
and then
Yeah.
the next season will be a block of 3 episodes will be 1
1
year
year.
leading up to in chronological order.
Oh, that's rushing things for sure.
That's why I think
Or-
it's actually actually kind of sounds just about right to me that we're gonna get it till later next year, because I would think that there's gonna be some heavy tone shifts, between episodes, like just between episode 3 and 4, 6 and 7, all of that. Just because you're fast forwarding the story so much. So the look of the show, I'm assuming it's gonna change drastically, right, from one of those blocks to the other one. And like you said, I'm okay with them not rushing it. The writing just needs to be good. Okay, that is, I think, the one thing that everybody was on board with Andor, right? Just the dialogues were amazing. You had people saying it was too slow. You had people saying it was, like just too many fillers, all of that stuff. But nobody really complained about the dialogues. Like everybody sort of like
Yeah.
really, really liked them. So I'm okay with them taking their time. Um, so to me, it sounds just about right. I mean, with so many different locations, with so many different sets, with so many different tones, right, that they have to incorporate again into. We're basically gonna get a different, probably very different story arc every 3 episodes. So that's kind of a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Other news regarding 2024 releases: The Acolyte, the show that I'm actually really excited about. Leslie Headland says it's High Republic near the beginning of the prequels. I'm gonna say it again: near the beginning of the prequels. That doesn't sound very High Republic to me. Um, in an exciting part of the timeline. This is when the bad guys are outnumbered. They are the underdogs. I'm really excited for you guys to see things you haven't seen in live action yet. She also, when she sold the idea to Lucasfilms, she called it, what was it, Frozen meets Kill Bill?
Yep.
Yeah,
And somehow that won her the
Wait,
job.
what?
yeah, that was her description about
Okay,
the show.
let it go.
Yep.
Which that could mean a lot of things, but Kill Bill is really well choreographed, high quality action, and Frozen, I guess, just means musicals. I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm guessing like stylized, because like Kill Bill is very stylized, right? So,
So
um,
have you guys haven't seen the trailer, have you?
We
No.
can't. No, we
Okay,
haven't.
I've seen it. I've seen the
You
whole
guys
thing.
are the only
I've
ones who've seen
it.
I
it.
know.
I've
Exactly.
So
seen
yeah.
it.
So the begin I'll kind of break it down. So the beginning was Kill Bill, was Carrie Ann Moss in a cantina with a robe, a black hood. It was dark. I don't know, it could have been brown. There's a person that attacks her, never takes out a lightsaber, full martial arts style down a corridor, fighting each other. Then it cuts to the um the Jedi Council, the area where you have the seats from the prequels. Those seats are gone. It's all younglings being trained by that actor from Squid Game, and he was speaking like perfect English. He can't really speak English conversationally, but he speaks English in the show. There's also a scene of Amandla Stenberg. She has dreadlocks as a Force user, and she was wielding a saber, I believe. The other thing that jumped out to me, I'm trying to cycle through all my memory for it. It was fast. It was intense. It was very, very intriguing. The tone. The very last shot, though, had everyone standing on their feet because we saw all the main characters all together in a forest setting, seeing like a threat. And well, the first Jedi, I think, was the Jedi from Squid Game. He ignites his lightsaber, and then the rest of them do, and they're all different colors, and then it cuts right there, and it was awesome, man. All I can say, fast, intense. There was tone. It was moody. Um, it's tough to remember part of that because I experienced so much all at once in London. But yeah, it looked good. Then Leslie Headland came back on stage and she talked about her Star Wars life. She has a Star Wars life. She grew up loving Star Wars. She grew up loving every era, OT, prequels, EU. She said Star Wars saved her life. This is the person that I want directing, creating Star Wars. She's a director, a showrunner. She has experience. She has talent. She's proven it. Now we're going to get this. Jonas Swatamo is back as a Wookiee. He played Chewbacca in the sequel trilogy, but now he's going to be a Jedi Master Wookiee. He walked across the stage in his Wookiee costume from The Acolyte. and it's the end of the High Republic. So hopefully we get Plagueis stuff, young Palpatine
Yes.
stuff. That I
That's
think
what I'm
now
hoping
is
for.
even more in play. But yeah, the trailer was awesome. It's not great that you guys haven't seen it yet, but my hype level has gone several levels up for the Acolyte.
I
Needless
was about
to
to
say.
say the O on the Acolyte has that blue, like kind of frosty. Maybe that's what they're talking about, Frozen right there.
There you go.
We're gonna see Josh Gad come out.
As Olaf. And Lee Jung Jae is who you're referring to from Squid Game.
Yes, Lee Jung
So
Jae.
Which
were the lightsabers like, was it just traditional colors or was it like all different colors?
It's tough to go back in my memory and figure that out because now all I can think about is like the orange sabers that we saw in Ahsoka. So all these
Yeah.
trailers are like like crisscrossing in my mind now because
Uh.
we can't see them all, you know. And
See, the funny thing is, I was gonna ask Kenobi about that because I felt like they were more orange than red, and I was
They
like,
are.
yeah, they
That was
were.
by design though.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Filoni said that basically he did that intentionally, sort of like an homage to the OG, films that couldn't keep, the red color like very constant on film. So a lot of the shots, of Vader would look kind of orangey, right? Like it was not full on orange, but it wasn't quite the red that we got later on.
Hmm.
So apparently, he did that again, sort of on purpose. At least that's what he said, on an interview. But I don't know. I'm kind of hoping there's something else there, like they couldn't properly bleed the crystal or something like that. Like I think they would be cool if there's an in-universe explanation for
I would like
the
for them
slightly
just to
different color.
talk about it for the first time because
Yeah,
I mean that's not something that like we all sort of know because we're fans about it. Like the crystal's corrupted, but like for them to actually say it in the
yeah.
show or show it would be really really cool.
Dave's Dimension says Frozen. This gives me a disturbance in the Force.
Dude,
Welcome, Dave.
Frozen is one of the highest grossing films of all time, so you're fine.
Mr. Timmy Ray the King says, I remember the first Star Wars from the 70s. When I was a kid growing up, New Hope and Empire Strike Back and Return of the Jedi. I got all 3 movies on VHS tapes. You need to find a way to
Nice.
get those signed, brother.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Here's the very last thing that I'll say, and it's not really about any other announcements. I think those are just the ones I wanted to cover. I know there's a lot of little things. Also, Star Wars Visions, new season announcement, which I'm totally down for because any anime style Star Wars content I'm excited for. Looks great. I will say there is this weird thing that Celebration does that like no other conventions of that size do. San Diego, for example, you get to see all the live panels. You get to see all the panels, all the big major panels you get to see. And they stream them or they put them on video afterwards. The only thing you don't get to see sometimes is maybe half or a third of the trailers. They save those. But I don't understand why Star Wars or Disney decides to not show their big panels. Yes, there's something to give to the people who are in attendance. I completely agree with that. But I've been in Hall H at San Diego multiple times, multiple years. You can't take that like experience away from somebody. You know what I mean? Like if you if you stream a panel or just like the highlights of it, I feel like there's still no way to like reduce the experience that you go through being in that auditorium. I could be wrong, but for me, I would just think that they need to show some of the panels afterwards or stream them during and show some teasers, something like that. It just feels like Star Wars is too big to deny so much content out there. Like you're gonna get more people talking about your content if you show them stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know. Anybody else feel that way?
Yeah, I totally feel that way. I think that we've been saying on the Star Stuff podcast that if they really don't want to show the trailers to the public and give that experience to the people that paid the money and made the sacrifice to get to wherever part of the world Celebration is at, just take everyone's phone and just show the trailer in the rooms. And then if anyone else wants to do viewings of the trailers and the footage, have a room designated, take everyone's phone and then let them in and then bring them back out and give their phone back. Comedy shows have been doing it since COVID hit, since the pandemic. Other venues and things have been doing that as well. They seal up your phone, you watch it. I mean, that's why this celebration, I think, was the least favorite of ours, because we only won the lottery for the Lucasfilm Showcase. And if you wanted to get in, you basically had to either pay someone a crazy amount of money to get their QR code and be kind of unsure and maybe think maybe they just copied it off the internet and gave you something that's not valid, or sneak in, which I don't want to do that. I don't want to break the rules. I don't want our podcast to do that. But I mean, we gotta cover the event, you know. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's like, what do you do? It's like
Yeah.
when I got there, I didn't feel like sneaking in at anything. I didn't want to get kicked out. I didn't want to, because we're a whole lot bigger now, luckily, and it's just one of those things. It's like, what do you do? I mean, it's a weird situation. It's just a disconnect that Lucasfilm has with the fans, that they need someone that can kind of be like the viceroy, the mediator, something between what the fans really want and what Lucasfilm can easily give us. And that's something that they still have that big disconnect with. And I'm submitting my application right now to be that person.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Here,
You got
here.
my vote.
Well, I mean,
Go
they
ahead,
like
Ray.
Attack of the Show. They used to have it where they would have during the panels and stuff like that. They would show the trailers to us from there when Attack of the Show was there at Comic-Con. I mean, that would be cool that they did stuff like that, like aired it live for people who couldn't go to the event. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
give it.
this, I want to say this real quick. So this happened. So the Twin Sun stage, I won that panel. I won the lottery. So that was Lucasfilm Showcase. We got in right away. There was people that were trying to bring it up on their phone, their QR code. They didn't print it out. Wi-Fi was horrible. Some of those people didn't get in because they couldn't bring it up on their phones, and they were screaming at the
Oh,
security saying, I have the
Devastating.
code. It's on my phone. But they wouldn't let them in because they couldn't prove it.
That's why you don't go
Devastating.
T-Mobile. You don't go T-Mobile.
There.
Well, in London, you do go T-Mobile because
just
it's a German-owned company, and I called my carrier, which is T-Mobile, and they said, yes, London will work for you. It's just don't make any phone calls because it's like 35 cents a minute. But data and texting was free, was included on my plan.
Nice. Good to
Yeah.
know.
Crazy. Daniel, I know you gotta jump off, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you for joining, and we'll talk soon, buddy.
All right. See you guys later, man.
Yeah,
Later.
good night.
David, I brought up this idea like years ago when I was attending San Diego Comic Con year after
Mhm.
year. I said, hey, if you don't want, because look, every trailer they wouldn't show the public, people were leaking it online anyways.
Yeah.
I said, you really don't want this to leak or do anything like that. Make the trailers 3D. Make the trailers 3D. You have to wear special glasses if you're in the audience to wear them. And sure, you can like try and record it and leak it, but it's gonna be a really crappy version of those trailers. So I think there's probably even a better way to do that. I know from working in theaters that there was even a set of glasses that required a signal in order to function properly, or else the screen wouldn't actually clear up. And very
You
bad
could
if
do
you
that
didn't have
too.
those glasses. Do that too. If you're really worried about leaks, put something in place where you know it's like foolproof, but at least show the panels to those not in attendance. Either stream or show it afterwards. Let somebody like Variety or Deadline put those videos out there, because what you want is like engagement, like online engagement, social media engagement. And nobody's talking about the trailers we can't see. Nobody's talking about the Acolyte trailer. We're all talking about Ahsoka because we got it. So I just think um, they're doing themselves a disservice by not giving as much content to the public as possible.
Yeah, and to play devil's advocate to that, maybe Lucasfilm does like that. Maybe they do like the kind of like guerrilla marketing that they're getting for free with these leakers, and people are like scouring YouTube and Google and trying to find. Maybe they do like it. At this point, it feels like it because there are other solutions out there. You just named like two of them that they could just do. It's Lucasfilm, it's Disney. They got the money to do it. Just do the thing and make it better for the fans. The fans put the panels as priority, and there's some people that won nothing. We had James on our podcast. He won nothing, absolutely nothing, and he was going to travel the furthest. He's from California. So I
You
flew 9 hours not to get one panel.
you imagine going to Japan and getting nothing? It's it's how do you balance? It's got to be a give and take. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's rough. It's not. There's no easy answer, but yeah, they hopefully they come to their senses in the future. Timmy the Ray King says, I'm trying to get all my son's childhood Mighty Morphin Power Rangers VHS tapes signed. The only one I need is Jason Frank, but I know that he passed away. You might be able to find maybe an older one online. Hopefully they're all legit, but that's crazy that you got all the rest of them. That's pretty awesome. Sony had that with the PlayStation TV years ago. Interesting. Wonder what referring to 3D glasses, perhaps. Awesome. Well, that was the highlights from Star Wars Celebration. Congrats, Dave. I'm so super glad, bro, that you had a great time. Well deserved. We all like, what is the phrase? We all lived through you
Vicariously live through through my
vicariously.
stuff.
Yeah, there you go. And
Absolutely.
the videos were awesome. You still haven't done a English accent for me, so I'm a little bit pissed off about that.
We have another
Still,
story that's hilarious. There was
go
a
for
guy
it.
sitting next to us, and he goes, "Oi, you have a podcast?" And we're like, "Yeah, we have a podcast."
Hell yeah.
And he was like, "Ahsoka trailer was shite," and we're like, "What?" We thought it was pretty good, and yeah, it went on and on and on with this guy, and yeah, it was it was interesting.
So, Dave, I got to ask you a question.
Yeah,
So, what do you think about David Tennant coming back?
it's cool. It's awesome synergy. Bringing the voice actor to do the live action droid, it's fantastic. They should do that all the time.
Yeah.
Picking Ashley Eckstein to be live action Ahsoka, I think they made the right move with getting Rosario to play Ahsoka. But there's certain situations, also with like Vanessa Marshall playing Hera. I didn't think that was a good move. Going younger with Mary Elizabeth Winstead was, I think, the better choice. But yeah, David
Yeah.
Tennant being game, coming back to Doctor Who. Also, it looks like he's more involved now and kind of wants to be in the thick of it. Maybe we'll get him back for the Harry Potter series on Max. I don't know.
Mary is not her name. It is Ramona. Get it right, sir.
Miss Flowers, I apologize.
Yeah.
What a power couple, Kenobi and Harris and Dula. That's pretty massive. Those
Yeah.
guys are incredible. Awesome. That's pretty much all we are going to say tonight about Celebration. I know it took a while, but necessary to talk about all the Star Wars stuff. Now we're going to get into chapter 23 of The Mandalorian. We'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. You know how we do if you watch the show. The way we start our discussions on episodes is we go through a summary, and it sounds a little something like this. Chapter 23, The Spies. We open on Moff Gideon and the Empire Shadow Council, who discuss Project Necromancer, including Brian Gleason, Domhnall Gleason's brother, who played Brendel Hux. Pretty awesome tie in there. Bo-Katan and Din return to Navarro with her old clan, and Grogu gets a new toy, aka IG-12. Pretty dope. Bo-Katan plans on taking a small recon group to Mandalore to look for the Great Forge. Upon reaching the surface, they come upon even more Mandalorian survivors who take them to the old location. An ambush! Imperial forces, decked out in Beskar and equipped with jetpacks, attack. Din Djarin is taken captive by Moff Gideon, while the rest of the Mandalorians escape, except for Paz Vizsla, who, after defeating numerous Imperial forces, is taken down handedly by Praetorian guards. Pour one out for good old Paz. Went out like a boss. We'll start with Dave this time. Initial reaction to chapter 23 of The Mandalorian.
Very cinematic, very dense. They showed us the first 6 minutes of this episode during the Lucasfilm showcase. It was a 2-hour long panel, but it was awesome. And then they said, make sure you keep your wristband, which is the one I have right here. It says Twin Sons stage, or actually Twin Sons guest. I didn't go back to go see it because we were looking for a different place in town, and I said, I'm going to see it on Wednesday anyways. So I didn't see it with my buddies. I saw it last night for the first time. As directly opposed to the 6 minutes I saw. But yeah, it was fantastic. It had a little bit of every single era of live action. It had prequel stuff, OT stuff, sequel stuff. You got to see some of the leaks confirmed. There was talk of Grogu in a mech suit that was an IG-88 type of styling, and we kind of got confirmation on that. All the Mandos fighting together, flying together, really cool to see that many Mandalorians on the live action screen. Character movement, plot movement. It feels like it's a two-parter. Rick Famuyiwa directed, Filoni and Favreau wrote, and we get the next Famuyiwa episode next Wednesday, which is the season finale, and it seems like it's going to be an epic episode.
Absolutely, well said. Ray, we'll go to you next, man. Your initial reaction to chapter 23.
It made me really look at other things that I missed, that I kind of overlooked, and from Clone Wars, and especially with the armor, and it kind of, and then also seeing Gideon with the outfit he was wearing as well. Those two things alone kind of, I don't want to say what I mean, without giving spoilers too much, but yeah, it made me really think of stuff, especially Death Watch, and it was brought up as well. Definitely a good
Absolutely.
series.
Fantastic episode, and the reason why I saved this guy for last is because General Kenobi actually talked to Paz Vizsla over the weekend. So, Kenobi, your thoughts on chapter 23 and seeing your pal go down?
I know.
Going down like a hero, though, man.
Yeah, that's what I say. So over the episode, yes, absolutely loved it. Like David said, we had a lot of stuff, packed into this episode. We had some awesome cameos, not actor cameos, but character cameos, right? Which are the ones that I tend to enjoy the most. We saw Pelion, we saw Hux, we saw the Shadow Council. I mean, come on, name dropping left and right? I mean, Admiral Thrawn spelled out. He's like, okay, well, where is he? Like all of that stuff I loved. The action was incredible. Of course, we had Imperial Super Commandos basically, coming in. Call back to Rebels, I mean, Gideon, all of that stuff. Also, I've said it pretty much every episode this season. I'll say it again because I think it's worth it. The ships, visually, the ships on this season have been incredible, man. Like I rewind that scene when they arrived to Navarro like 3 times just to see the light cruiser like pull up. Gorgeous. The fleet looks amazing. I love those shots. So more of that, less of everything else. And so, okay, but the other thing is, Big Daddy Paz Vizsla. I was like, come on, man. Like, I mean, like you said, he went out like a boss, right? Like, yeah, exactly. Now I kind of want one. If he went, hey, it's my birthday next month. I'm just throwing it out there.
Throw it out there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna, there you go. So you got a spare. And so if he was gonna go out, might as well go out with a bang like that, right? And man, he went crazy, right? Like super awesome, very much to the character, mowing down dudes left and right. I mean, this dude alone probably took out more Imperials, than all of the other Mandalorians like combined. So what Ted was referring to is that Ted and I actually got to talk to Tom O'Connell, who is a stunt actor, and he played the Darth Vader character in all the very cool fight scenes in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. But he has also been doing stunt work for Tate Fletcher, who plays Paz Vizsla normally here on season 3. So some of the stunts were actually performed by Tom O'Connell, including this episode, right? And so that was pretty cool. That was very well timed, I think. We just talked to him this past weekend. Video is up on General Kenobi's Bunker if you're going to want to check it out. I actually texted him as soon as I was done this morning.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I fangirled. I'm sorry, but I was like, dude, you freaking killed it. And he saw it. So that's cool. He left me on scene, but that's all right. I know he's busy. But yeah, so I was looking for him on the credits, right? As soon as the episode ended, I went through the credits, and sure enough, right, he's right there as Paz Vizsla. Um, so yeah, I mean, Paz Vizsla was getting a lot of character development this season, right? So very much like Tech in Bad Batch, I was like, I don't like this. I don't, don't take him away from me. Don't take the one, big husky Mandalorian, away from me. Like, uh, the one with the dad bud. Like, don't do this to me. And sure enough, right? But yeah, I great episode. More like I said, I kind of wish this would have been a little bit more present, in previous episodes. Uh, Moff Gideon, I mean, showing up on episode, what is this, 7 out of 8?
Yeah.
Kind of feels like a little bit, they made us wait for it. Is what I'm trying to say. So obviously, the expectation was very high. I think they totally delivered this episode. I think the next episode is going to be amazing. Um, but yeah, I think we can all agree that there's definitely a shift in who the main character is now, at least up to this episode.
Um, I'll go last. Incredible episode, absolutely incredible. Hey, love the phone case there.
That's dope.
I wanted that Case of Celebration, but Caseify didn't have a booth.
Boo.
Missed
Um,
Worth
opportunity.
it.
I'm actually slightly mad at myself. I love trying to get into the heads of writers, and I feel like the Empire taking up Mandalore as their primary base should have been a no-brainer. I should have seen this coming. Like, of course, Mandalore is like their home base. It's on the outer rim, right? Or at least it's outside the outer rim. I don't really know exactly. Dave, you might know, but it's far enough away that it's out of the sight of the Republic, and like they've spent a good amount of time like sort of regenerating their building up their forces. It looked awesome. I was like, oh my god, oh, I should have seen all that coming. Like it was a twist that I should have predicted back in like season 2 of The Mandalorian. Like I should have seen this coming from like that far away. It just makes so much sense. And that, my friends, is a sign of good writing. Um but I can't be mad about the rest of the season. I feel like we were intentionally told to be focused on certain things, and all the while they left breadcrumbs along the way. I mean, from just the side conversations of like, "Oh, where's Moff Gideon? Oh, I heard he got out. Oh, I heard he went to jail." Like that kind of thing. Like it was just one episode, 2 episodes later, something else. Another episode, he's missing, and they talk about the best car thing. I did not see Imperial Mandalorians. That was freaking cool. I'm like, okay, you got me there. I never would have guessed that one. Maybe some of you guys did on here, but when they said best car was found at the scene of his escape, I was like, ooh, which Mandalorians have we met that were part of this breakout? Turns out none of them. So freaking fantastic, if you ask me. I think this is just such smart writing, and this has all been a build-up, like since season 2, really, of The Mandalorian. You can start tracing lines to this big reveal, and I think it's great. This is a fantastic episode. I'm a little worried about next week. I don't see how you wrap up this season in one more episode. I feel like there's just too many people at play. There's too many storylines. We know the Empire's not going to lose. We know how the future, works out. So, like, it's one of the reasons why you want to get away from the Skywalker saga. Like, how things turn out, because of the sequel trilogy. So, what happens next? I have no freaking clue. But it might not be good. This might be the Empire Strikes Back of like the Mandalorian season or the Filoniverse, where like the good guys are destined to fail at least once, take a major L, and this could be it. So, slightly worried about next week. Also worried that we're going to get some sort of big like cliffhanger and just have to wait another year and a half, 2 years for the next season. I don't know. Anybody else have that feeling?
Yeah, I got that feeling. I mean, since you brought that up, Dave, what's your opinion on the armor?
Yeah, it was very, very convenient that she flew up to the brigade and the upper atmosphere there, and wasn't around for the big ambush of Moff Gideon and those new Beskar cladded super troopers. So yeah, I had read leaks about a year and a half ago about this, and I think the troopers were in the Beskar. I never like thought about it, but that was a leak. Grogu and the IG droid was a leak. I used as a mech suit. I don't know how that's going to come into play. It feels like that's going to be a big thing in the finale.
Yeah.
Krang
Um,
suit, yeah, Krang suit.
and Moff Gideon wearing Mandalorian armor with the helmet with the horns. So the horns match up with the armor. So all the theories now are leading to, okay, well, the armor is possibly a character that we saw in animation
Yeah.
that was part of the villains there. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting finale. I hope they don't leave it on a cliffhanger because they're gonna have to wait another like 2 years for it.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's gonna be hard.
Pablo's in the chat, says, now this
What's up,
brings a
man?
point on who is the Mandalorian, since they recently said Din Djarin was not the Mandalorian. Will this take a turn and Moff Gideon be the one? I think that somewhere this past weekend they just openly said, like, we've transitioned. The Mandalorian is no longer like single but like plural. And so it's not necessarily the story of one person, it's a story of their entire clan, their entire
Race. Yeah.
race of warriors.
It's a
So
creed. Remember they said that it's a Mandalorian is a creed, so
there
anyone
you
can be a
go.
Mandalorian.
So I think that's how we're all supposed to take it now. The Mandalorian is now the story of all of them, and whether or not it ends on a good note or a bad note is has yet to be seen. But I'm not making bets that there's a happy ending here.
Yeah.
Um,
Great.
Nope.
I'm very worried. It was one of the kind of interesting things that I felt like was kind of thrown away in there was that Moff Gideon is telling the Shadow Council that he doesn't give two f's about cloning. That was odd, since we spent the first season really focused on getting Grogu and using Dr. Pershing for his knowledge on cloning. I'm wondering if that is misdirection, if he's actually playing the Shadow Council for some reason. I don't feel like there's just something not adding up. I don't know if anybody else like that stuck with you guys, but that really stuck with me. Like, why does Gideon not care about cloning all of a sudden? He was. It felt like he was the one really going after Grogu for the purposes of cloning in some shape, way, or form. It also kind of sounded like when he said we're in the business or whatever of creating warriors, and those warriors are going to have the best of like everybody. And so like
Yeah.
That's when I say
Mandalorian,
he. Yeah, he spells it out right. He says
Jedi.
the
Yeah, Mando's cloners,
Mandos,
Jedi.
cloners, and Jedi, like they all got something to, you know, like contribute, right? But he says we're gonna take the best out of all of those. So it kind of spells it out, right? So yeah, there's definitely something going on. They also, it was very much in our faces, right? As he's walking through those containers, those cloning, cylinders, whatever they are, but you still see creatures or bodies inside. So it's like, hey guys, remember this dude still dabbling in whatever genetic research was going on. So
Yep. Project Necromancer. Says it
exactly.
right there in the title.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Although the way I understood it though is that Hux was supposed to be, sort of overseeing that one, right? I don't know if he, because Gideon says, he's like, hey, like, hey, cloning is like your thing, not mine, right? Like he says to Hux, like, you're the one that cares about clones. Like I don't care about clones, even though we obviously know that he does. Um, so I'm like, okay, well, as any good Imperial, they're all kind of trying to play each other, right?
Right. They're all
Uh,
trying to climb the Imperial corporate ladder there. So they're
exactly.
stepping on everyone. And it feels like almost like the cloning thing for Gideon was maybe just something he had to do for the job to climb the ladder more so than anything
Yeah,
else.
that might have been the other thing, right? It's like, hey, I'm gonna take this project so that I
Yeah.
can requisition, TIE interceptors, bombers, Praetorian guards, more troops, like more funding, all of that stuff, right? Like that might have been how do you call it? That might have been, a means to an end, right? Like to be able to
Right.
continue his operation, right? Because he said it, it's like, hey, we are like scraping as many resources as we can, right? Like individually, like we're not acting like the Empire would, right? Whereas Pelion and Hux are the ones on top, sitting pretty with probably with still like a fleet of Star Destroyers, bases all over the place, armies, all of that stuff, and plenty of money, I'm sure.
Yeah, and
So
Pelion is Thrawn's right hand man,
right,
and Gideon was like, "Well, where is Thrawn? Why hasn't he
exactly.
appeared for the Shadow Council?"
Yeah, I kind of
So
like that.
yeah, Gideon is at odds with Thrawn, and he wants to basically usurp him because it seems like Thrawn is like the main guy,
Yeah,
and yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, come on, it's like he's not doing anything. Where is he?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's he waiting for?
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, Thrawn is probably the highest ranking, officer, right?
Grand Admiral, yeah.
Yeah, Grand Admiral. Which there used to be what I think 12. Like they could only be 12 at any given point in the entire galaxy. So that is, I mean, it's pretty up there, right? Um, I don't know if that's still a rule, in this new, I guess, canon, but that used to be the case. So there was very few Grand Admirals, right? Like in the entire Empire. So he's about the only one who made it out or survived or remains up to this point. So that's where Pelion is saying, like, no, guys, like he's gonna come back and he's gonna get us all back into shape, and we're gonna be a cohesive unit again and all that stuff. But we can't show our hand yet. And I'm like, well, maybe we can't show our hand yet because Thrawn is still out there, like attached to a Purgle jumping around in hyperspace, right? I mean, of course, by this point, he's probably sort of kind of back, or they probably already made contact with him. But yeah, love the Shadow Council stuff. I thought that was like the
Yeah.
biggest takeaway for this, like story wise. Honestly, I think that actually was a lot more than the Mandalorian stuff itself, right?
Yeah, I honestly don't hate me here. It's a page straight out of DC Comics. This is the Legion of Doom, or if you were a
Mhm.
Young Justice fan, this is the Light,
Oh yeah,
which was fantastic.
yeah,
Um, Literally, like all your biggest remaining supervillains, and they were working in the shadows. Everything they did was covert. They played chess while everybody else was playing checkers, and it's freaking fantastic. So
Yeah, and
if they
Thrawn
keep,
plays 3D chess, so yeah,
yeah.
no
I was gonna
cap.
say, yeah.
my final question about this episode, Project Necromancer, is it straightforward as we're just cloning dead Sith, or is there more to it? What are your theories?
Yeah, I think Project Necromancer refers directly to somehow Palpatine return. They're explaining that.
Yeah, I have to
And you,
agree, especially with the trend that we were talking about, Ray earlier and myself earlier. They're plugging holes, right, or perceived holes at least into from the original trilogy to the sequel trilogy. So just like David said, somehow Palpatine returning, they're kind of spelling it out for us now. They're giving us the step by step, right? They're showing us, how long it took the Empire, what resources they needed, all that stuff. It's showing us that obviously the Emperor made it a top priority, right, to get this project off the ground. And so anybody that's trying to gain his favor is pouring all the resources into getting this done, right? Whether it be public or not, right, amongst themselves. So that might be another angle that Moff Gideon is playing, right? It's like, hey, I kind of want to be a Grand Admiral, so what I got to do to get there is get the Emperor clone, right? Uh, so that could also be sort of his motivation into the cloning research, right? Um, because I don't know that he's like super commandos are clones, right? Like we don't know yet. They might be, but we don't know yet. Um, so again, I think that might be also another angle that he's playing. But yeah, I think on this instance, I don't see it being something else. I would hope so. It'd be cool for them to pull something that we just did not expect. But I think at this point in the story, and from what we've seen and the build up and Bad Batch, for example, I think it's kind of fairly straightforward, and we can pretty pretty accurately say that yeah, we're just talking about cloning Palpatine at this point.
Ray, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with them. I mean, that's the thing. It leaves like I said, that they're filling those gaps that cloning Palpatine, but then also we're getting more behind, and then I think this is where we're gonna see it in Ahsoka once it comes over, and then this is just my opinion. We're gonna get left hanging next week,
Yeah.
and I think it's gonna somewhat be in Ahsoka, but not fully. But it's just gonna give some explanation, and but then this is where I think at the end of Ahsoka we're gonna get left saying, okay, it's gonna resolve itself in Filoni's movie.
Yep.
I read the definition of necromancy, which is the communication of the dead or communicating with the dead, and a necromancer is considered a wizard, which is always funny because what was that line Luke said in episode 8? You want me to just to take on the empire? Did he say wizard with a what was it? Light sword?
Yeah,
Something
with a
like that?
laser sword.
Laser sword. Damn it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
To which I was
So
like, "Hey man, branding, come on, like you can do better. Like we want to sell toys here. Like come on."
I feel like again, I'm trying to get into the mindset of these writers. I feel like there's still another twist. What are the means or the resources of bringing Palpatine back? I remember in Kenobi we saw that vault of all those like uh ex dead Jedi.
In the
Like,
Jurassic Park Amber.
Yeah.
hey, are are you able to siphon? I'm gonna say it, midichlorians.
M
Is
count.
that
M
M count?
count. Yeah.
M count, baby. Are you able to? What
What
are the
is your M
means?
count, Ted?
I haven't checked it today.
Yeah.
I'll let you know. But yeah, I'm wondering. What are those means? It's not enough yet to say Project Necromancer is just the second coming of Palpatine, but I feel like there's also going to be something additional that's necessary. Again, I'm worried for Grogu. I don't know if he's supposed to make it out of here by the end of the Mandalorian, whenever that may be. I'm not saying that's the season or not. Um, Mando, Din. I feel like as a writer who's I'm not a writer, but as someone who probably would write this show, you're probably going to lose someone drastic in this final episode or by the end of the season. And on the chopping block is probably Din. Um, Grogu has to stay, or he gets captured. I could see Grogu getting captured. Bo supposed to be alive in any other media after this?
No, but I think
Content?
they're clearly showing us that Katie Sackhoff is going to be a major player. I don't think they're just
Yeah.
going to
I
axe
don't
her
think.
character.
Yeah, or not yet anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Mercedes Varnado plays
Casca Reeves.
Casca Reeves. I
Yeah,
feel like
which
she's been way too quiet in these
I was gonna
last two
say, which
episodes.
but didn't I get her enough money to talk this time around? Like, what's going on? She
She's
had
just
one line.
nodding at people.
Yeah, she had one line, and I'll be honest with you, like something was like slightly off with like her mouth moving. I'm like, did they CGI this thing? Like, dude, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm obviously gonna rewatch the episode, but when I do, I want to pay more attention to that because something just like stood out when she
Yeah.
would say, "I will go," right? But like her lip movement was a little bit off. Maybe it's just me reading too much into it, but they literally made it a point, right? She was about to like, and Bo-Katan's like, no, shut up. We don't have enough money to pay you. Like, keep quiet. It's like,
Yeah.
what happened? Like, she has like no expression. Are they just like reusing old footage? Like, what is going on? Like, I thought it was so weird.
Yeah. I'm expecting bad news this last episode. I don't know why. I just have a feel like impending doom is
Mhm.
coming, and I don't see if there's another way around it. And Paz Vizsla, I know that we all saw him go down as a hero. The first thing I thought about is this dude's a dad. Like we know his kid is back with the rest of the Creed. So that was
Ragnar.
like, yeah.
Ragnar.
I mean that, yeah, Ragnar, and that's again good writing. you take him out, but you understand that he had a lot to live for and he has a family. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's what went down. But shout out to Tom O'Connell, who was an absolute boss in this episode. He was fantastic. Great episode all around. This is definitely making up for the rest of the season, which I didn't think was really bad, but definitely not maybe what we expected. So, yeah, I'll just say that. But we want to hear from you guys. What are your additional thoughts about Chapter 23 of The Mandalorian? What are your theories going forward? We want to hear from you. Let us know by dropping your thoughts in the chat down below, or you can always email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowncitygeeks.com. We have one final topic tonight, and I'm going to run through this SOB because I know we've been here a little longer than anticipated, but that's okay. I like these long episodes. Last but not least, HBO Max is getting a rebrand, and they had some big announcement today, and we're going to talk about that right now. Starting with, and these are just the highlights, right? New series and shows coming out. Number one, we got a teaser trailer for The Penguin, True Detective, featuring I'm not gonna remember right now, but True Detective, Night Country, the show's fourth season. One was epic, two was okay, three was epic. Season four looks like it's gonna be great as well. Gremlins: Secrets of the Mogwai, which was announced, it feels like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's finally coming out later this year. It is a prequel to the Gremlins movies, and it's done very sort of grade school, preschoolish, not preschool, grade schoolish, but I think that's okay. Number two, Harry Potter reboot. Yes, a decade-long series produced um, over the entirety of the books. Whole new cast taking over the entire franchise. I don't know how people are going to feel about that. It feels like more Harry Potter's good, but not if you're just redoing everything. However, there was a quote that says the show will have a new cast, yada yada yada, and that each season will be authentic to the original books. So if you were someone that said, "Oh, they didn't do it that way in the books," this might be the season for you. They're just not going to be using Daniel Radcliffe and all the other Rupert and
Emma
forget her
Watson.
Emma Watson. Absolutely. The Rick and Morty series is going anime. They're going to put a anime style Rick and Morty later this year. Game of Thrones has announced a new series, the new prequel called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight. Will follow the tales of Dunk and Egg, which apparently were two fantastic characters in some books that George R. R. Martin wrote. A lot of people were excited for these guys to come out. So confirmation. There you go. There will also be. Let's get into a little bit of the pricing here. There will also be three pricing tiers. First, you got Ad Light, and you also have what? Ad Light and Ad Free. One of them's $9.99 a month and offers 1080p and will not allow for offline downloads. The second tier, which is ad free, will cost $15.99 a month, will stream at 1080 and offer you 30 offline downloads a month. I hate that they like are using this against us now.
Wow.
Max Ultimate ad free is priced at $19.99 a month. And will allow you to stream in 4K and download as much content as you want. Users who currently have those same features while paying $15.99, the price of the current top tier plan available for HBO Max, have 6 months before they will be asked to upgrade to the ultimate or lose those extra features. So if you currently have HBO Max, nothing changes. You're going to get the new app updated automatically starting May 23rd. That's when this new app goes live. And
When does it go
on
live?
May 23rd.
Okay.
New app goes live May 23rd, but if you currently have HBO Max, nothing changes for 6 months, and you get to just keep it the way it is now. Your profiles, your watch list, your viewing histories, will all carry over. You don't need to update your password. You don't need to update your billing information, which all sounds great. Um, I don't know, and this is something that I didn't get to find out. If you are getting your HBO Max for free, like me,
I am too.
where do
Yeah.
you fall into all this stuff? I don't think they're talking about those folks. So I'm a little not worried, but we'll see what happens with that. Gentlemen, I'll just ask you about the announcements of the shows that were announced, or anything else that might have been announced. Anything you're really excited about that came out of those announcements earlier today?
I'm excited about the Penguin. I saw the little trailer. Colin Farrell looks excellent. Same makeup. Seems very dark. Seems just like on tone with the Batman film that came out. Love the fact that they're already rebooting Harry Potter. I mean, I'm not getting any younger. I want to see this cool TV show where they're adapting straight from the books. I've read some of the books, but I know they're very, very detailed, very deep, and the lore is there. They left out stuff in the movies. I want to see all that stuff. I think that's going to be excellent. Spin-offs from Game of Thrones, if they have the same crew that did House of the Dragon, all for that. House of the Dragon was phenomenal, terrific. I love it. And HBO Max, they're dropping the HBO, which seems totally idiotic because that's one of the most revered houses in Hollywood, really. And you're making it seem like this is like Cinemax or something now. It doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, it's sad to see that go. The pricing structure, like you said, I have AT&T Fiber, which gives me HBO Max for included. I'm paying for fiber, but I don't know where I fall in. But if I have to pay, I guess I'm going to pay the max, pun intended, the ultimate, whatever it's called, so I can get
Yeah,
it all in 4K and be able to download the stuff because I think for me the Harry Potter series is worth it alone, and I want to keep up with House of the Dragon when that eventually drops many years from now or whatever. So yeah.
I did leave one part out. Every tier is going to have an annual price, which is going to save you maybe a month or
Oh
two
well, that's kind of good.
worth of paying. So the ad light, the first tier, it's $9.99 a month. If you want to do the annual price, it's actually an $89, even 100. So you save a couple of months there. Um, I think it's the same with the other two. Ad ad free is 15.99 a month, and I think that one's 159. And then same thing. Ultimate ad free is either 19.99 a month or just 199 for the year. So you can save yourself a couple of months. So you have options. I'm just throwing it out there. You want to go light, pay the annual, save yourself like 2 months, and if you keep it for a few years, it pays for itself. We'll see what happens though. Ray, your thoughts about any of the content announcements? Anything you're excited about? Is it all just kind of meh?
The only thing I kind of got curious and was they're talking about doing a Big Bang or doing it.
I
I
I
was kind
did
of like,
hear
how are
that.
they going to do that? But I mean, other than the Harry Potter stuff, I mean, it's kind of like it's going to be a mixed bag because either some people are going to be pissed and not like it. Um, it's going to be a toss up on it. But I mean, like I said, I'm here for House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, um, Harry Potter. I'll see it, but I'm kind of worried at the same time. I'm not going with high expectations. But I'm interested to see, Big Bang because I like Big Bang. Are they going to do a start over? Or are they going to actually start off where now these guys have kids and it's their kids? That would be interesting. You know what I mean? But that's pretty
Ooh,
much it. Where
all
I,
right, all
you
right.
know what I mean?
I will, until the day I die, will always defend Big Bang Theory. I despise the people that say like, "Oh, it wasn't accurate," or "It's just like an exaggeration of like nerds and their friends," and I'm like, all of TV is an exaggeration of like your friends and stuff like that. You think The Office is really like that? Like in the workplace, I work in a office building. It's not like that at all. Like TV is supposed to be exaggerated. That's why we watch
Yeah.
it. It's entertaining. I love The Big Bang. I watch every episode. One of the best finales of any sitcom, honestly. And I love the characters. If they decide to, all they mentioned was it would be a show in the Big Bang universe, and that was very ominous to me. That's why I kind of didn't bring it up, because that doesn't really give me hope about what it could be about. It could just be a spinoff. It could be a Kripke spinoff, which sounds kind of fun, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. And then other than that, there's also more things I didn't talk about. There's other shows, other dramas that they kind of teased, and other reality shows, but I'm not a really huge reality guy. But if you're into reality dating shows, I think there's a few of them that they talked about. So I think there's a little bit for everybody. Um, we'll see what happens. It's not incredible. Like, these aren't like, they didn't talk about any movies. They didn't talk about like anything really. So it kind of just gave us all the really easy announcements. But we'll see what else is kind of coming down the pipeline. Yeah, I feel really bad for these kids of this new Harry Potter series. Like, you're gonna get compared nonstop, and it's unfair, but it's just what people are gonna do. And if they decide to like, I even don't want to say it. If they even decide to like, cast a character that might not be a redhead to play Ron, or might
Yeah,
cast someone of a different race to play Hermione.
I was gonna say
I
if
wouldn't care, but the
a lot of people will.
the shit would hit the fan,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
yeah.
and
If
it
they
would
decide to
suck.
make Ron a girl, or something like that. Oof. Yeah.
Don't do that. Adapt the
Hey,
books as close as
I,
possible, and you'll be golden.
yeah, they don't do that anymore. So I
It's
don't know.
Hollywood.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, I do not envy them one bit, like at all.
No,
Although if
no.
they made all three of those characters Mexican American, that'd be interesting.
There you go. I like
Were
that.
there no Mexicans in the original movies at all? Come on, Jesus.
Oh,
I mean, I feel like Hagrid might have been a little Mexican.
I see it.
oh
Hmm.
man.
Oh my god.
He
Awesome.
did own a bike, and he did work
Hey.
on it.
And he was basically like, maintenance. So yeah,
He took care of the animals.
he took care of the animals. There you go. That's a good point. That is a really good point right there. Sold. That's it.
Oh man.
Hagrid was Mexican.
Hagrid? How would you say that with the with an accent on it? Oh god.
Oh, dude.
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Pretty funny.
Well, that's gonna do it for this episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. Listen, I saw a great movie last night, Renfield, with
Oh, cool.
Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Holt. I highly recommend you guys watch it if you want to know more about it. I did a review with our buddy Brian Ortiz. That is on our YouTube page. Go check it out after the show's over. Also, we have more interviews that are getting posted. Go check out General Kenobi's Bunkers interview with Tom O'Connell, who's fantastic. And then we have I have a couple of more interviews that I can't talk about just yet that I dropped or recorded earlier today, but those will be out later on this week. Stay tuned on Friday for the Countdown City WrestleCast, who are talking about everything wrestling. WWE has like, there's not a day that goes by that there's not this major headline anymore. It's just drama week after week, and now they're being sold. So check out the WrestleCast on Friday, which is the best wrestling commentary show you'll find around. And be sure to tune in next week as we talk about the finale of The Mandalorian. And I'll pay Dave to be here, and Kenobi will be here as well. And it'll be hopefully an epic conversation about what we all expect to be an epic finale to season 3. Also, if you're in the San Antonio area or the South Texas area, me and my Ghostbusters charity group are going to be at the Andretti's Indoor Kart Racing facility this Saturday, which is April 15th, from 8 to 12, 8 p.m. to midnight, in celebration of the brand new Ghostbusters Virtual Reality Academy, which is now available at their location. So come party with us, take some photos, and go play what hopefully is a fantastic game. I can't wait. I've been training my whole life for this moment, so we'll see how it goes. And that'll do it for us. For the Geekcast, my name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me on this Mandalorian Chapter 23 episode is one and only Retro Rape.
How's it going on, guys? Let's, like I said, like and subscribe. We've got a lot more interviews coming for you guys. It's going to be interesting, especially with General Kenobi that we're working on with another interview as well. Like I said, don't miss out.
Absolutely. And also from the Star Wars Stuff podcast, we got David.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me on again. If you want to geek out more about Star Wars stuff, yeah, check out my podcast. We're on all the socials, all the YouTubes, the Twitters, the Twitches, everywhere. So yeah, if you want to find out about more Star Wars stuff from people that work at Galaxy's Edge, from people that live up north, from people that live in South Texas like myself, and we have General Kenobi on too sometimes. So he's great on it, and we just kind of talk around, like shoot the stuff. So yeah.
Check them out. Check them out and subscribe.
Yeah, definitely.
And last but definitely not least, Jose himself from the General Kenobi's Bunker channel. Go subscribe to them as well.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So, like we mentioned here, we actually have a pretty good interview with Tom McConnell, stunt work for Paz Vizsla, who just absolutely killed it in this week's episode. So, we appreciate if you go check it out. We are also on TikTok. We're growing a following there. We're actually getting pretty close to 6,000 followers. So, I'd appreciate it if you guys go check that out. Again, general.kenobis.bunker over on TikTok.
Have a good night, folks. We'll see you next week. Peace.